a shot on Pereira would be good because he's... Oh!
That's what I'm talking about. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. Done it again.
Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the betting show for UFC 281, a massive card this Saturday night. And listen, I am excited for multiple reasons, but one of them is I will be in attendance for the event this weekend. Got some great tickets, lower level, center, right in front. I'm really excited about it, man. I mean, it's just going to be a great card. Main card is stacked, undercard is stacked. Good betting opportunities on this card. So lots of great stuff going on there. Excited about that. If you want to see some sights and sounds of the event, I will be posting some stuff on Twitter. Take a look at Kyle Anthony UFC. I'll be posting stuff up there right now, throughout Saturday. And also, the other thing that I posted up on Twitter was a little tease on my announcement that I'm going to be making tomorrow that I kind of teased a little bit last week on the show. So this week, I will be talking about it tomorrow, posting some stuff, getting more in detail on kind of what's going on with my career in sports betting. Excited about it. Another great step in my career here, and I'm definitely staying with Wager Talk, so I don't want anyone to think any of that, but going to be doing some other partnerships and stuff like that, so it's just really exciting. Great stuff going on here, and let's get into it. So let's get right into the main event here. So let's talk Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. And right now you got the line roughly minus 205 for Adesanya. On the comeback, you've roughly got Pereira at a plus 150. And like we always do here, we're going to talk about 3 fights for each fighter, see what we see if one fighter can expose the other fighter, and if the line makes sense to place a wager. So the first person we talk about here is Israel Adesanya, and 3 fights ago, he fought Marvin Vettori. Now, this one here is not one we got to dive into too much here, because this was really just Israel levels above Vettori. I mean, Vettori very slow, not very technical on the feet, and throughout this fight, you really saw that's how much better striking Israel is. Vettori tried to make it ugly, tried to get in there, look for takedowns. He did get a couple takedowns, did get him up against the fence a little bit, but the one thing you did see is Israel's getting better at that. He's getting better at scrambling, finding space, working at range, keeping the range, keeping the distance. He's fantastic when it comes to distance management, no doubt about that. But clearly, you could see the technical skills of Adesanya landing. The one thing that we're seeing a lot of from Israel over the last, multiple fights is the leg kicks. And that's something that he's throwing in a lot. He's really honing in on the leg kicks, looking to land, looking to chop away, and then start utilizing some of his range, his reach, and his firepower when he stands. But this one here, I thought, Vettori looked sloppy. When he was confused that he thought that he might have won the fight, which is hilarious. But he goes out there and 5-0s Vettori, easily winning by unanimous decision. And then 2 fights ago, he fought Robert Whittaker. This was part 2, and this was an interesting fight here. But once again, early and often, you saw how Adesanya focused on the leg kicks, focused on pushing forward, focused on continually chopping away the inside, the outside of that front leg, and you could see early how Whittaker could not stop it. He could not find a way to kind of get in tight, get inside of that range, and then also kind of find ways to kind of check these leg kicks. He could not do it. You even saw, it was after the first round, he went to his corner. He kind of even, I forget the exact kind of what he had said, but he basically had said to his corner, like, I can't figure this out. Like, I can't, Israel has found a way to just keep chipping away at my legs, and I can't find a way to kind of defend it, find space, look to counter. He really struggled with that. But I thought that Adesanya, even in that first round, he dropped Whittaker, but he was very patient. And that's something that we have seen a lot of from Adesanya, where he has gone from this, detonating guys, knocking them out with Costa and Whittaker the first time. And he's kind of been very patient when he's got somebody hurt. He relaxed, stays calm, looks to continue to push forward, looks to continue to land shots, but he doesn't get overexcited. He does not allow himself to be in any harm's way, and that's pretty much what he did throughout this fight. There were very close rounds, though. I mean, there was even a spot where Whittaker got the takedown, got control, even got Adesanya's back at one point. And again, Adesanya getting better at scrambling, getting out of these grappling situations, these wrestling situations, even with his back up against the fence. You definitely saw there too as well that he was able to kind of get extra space and then keep working from there, because Whitaker was struggling. Whitaker was struggling from a distance. But the one thing here, that there were some close rounds. Israel was outlanding him, but I think he was kind of staying, and that's kind of one thing that we've seen with Israel, where he kind of stays to what his opponent's doing. We saw it against Romero, where he kind of was just overly patient, and just didn't want to allow himself to get hit. Didn't want to allow any point for Romero to kind of land a big shot or anything like that. And that's kind of what he did here. And there were spots here where, I think it was a third, fourth, and fifth round, Israel was maybe, had 4 more significant strikes. Another one was like 8 more significant strikes. Another one was like 1 or 2 more significant strikes. He was winning, and you could kind of tell that, the leg kicks were damaging, and those kind of things were kind of piling up on Whitaker. But either way, he does chip away. He does get the decision victory. It was close. But I did give it to Israel. When I rewatched it, it was pretty easy that I gave it to Israel. But again, hammering the legs, that is exactly what Israel has been doing time and time again, slowing down these opponents. And he goes out there and gets the victory by unanimous decision. And then most recently, he fought Jared Cannonier. Now, this was pretty evident right away. The superiority of striking that Adesanya has also over Cannonier. Now, Cannonier is a big guy, strong, powerful guy, can throw big shots, definitely strong. He can be strong in the clinch. Excuse me. And the power advantage may have gone to Cannonier, but anytime he was throwing, Whitaker was just, Whitaker. Adesanya was just so relaxed again, finding openings, outlanding, chipping away, picking apart Cannonier all rounds. It was another lopsided performance there. But at a distance, Cannonier had no chance. Cannonier legitimately had no chance. He could not cut that distance. He could not, even though he has a sizable reach, he's not quick enough. He did not have the technical skills. I do like Cannonier a lot. I think he's definitely a monster in the division, and I think, him coming down, him having a lot of strength, him keeping a lot of that strength, it just wasn't enough to go go out there and outland Adesanya over 5 rounds. But he goes out there and he beats Jared Cannonier. Now on the other side, we've got Alex Pereira, plus 150, and 3 fights ago was his UFC debut against Andre Michailidis. And this was an interesting fight here because Michailidis presents problems for Pereira. A guy who's a kickboxer, we don't have to get into all that right now, but a guy who's a kickboxer who's just starting to learn the grappling, just starting to learn about the clinch game, just really starting to put together his striking with the MMA side of things. And tough matchup stylistically for a guy who's a grinder, who will grind on you, who will stay on you, keep the clinch, look to wear down on you, and look to kind of keep it ugly, smother Pereira. And that's what he did early in the fight. He took advantage of that. He took advantage of really pushing forward, getting his hands on Pereira, and pretty much that whole first round, he kind of held Pereira up against the fence. It was not the most sexiest first round, I gotta say, for a lot of hype coming into Pereira, coming into this fight, and he just couldn't really kind of find the space, and that started to look like, hey, maybe this is gonna be a problem. But going into that second round, it took a few seconds into that second round, he throws a flying, jumping knee, lands it, fight over. This jumping knee was absolutely incredible. I thought that he landed it perfectly, he timed it perfectly. It shows the explosiveness that he has. He was able to land it right on the chin of Andreas, and it was over. It was night-night. So he goes out there in his UFC debut, gets a second round knockout. So there you have it there. And then 2 fights ago, he fought Bruno Silva. Now, Bruno Silva, another guy who's got some power, who definitely has some ability to kind of strike and kind of mix it up. He can definitely try to mix it up. And this was a spot here where early, I think that, Silva kind of, I think that Pereira kind of relaxed a little bit and just wanted to see the way that Silva would fight. And Silva looked to get the takedowns. He looked to kind of smother a little bit, and he was mixing it up very nicely. I thought that Silva early in that first round was starting to kind of, not figure out Pereira, of course, but at least try to get him thinking about the takedowns, get him thinking about the level changes, and then open up some shots. And Pereira was very relaxed up until the end of that first round. Then he opened it up. And boy, when Pereira starts firing these big shots and he throws these big, heavy left hook, he throws the big straight right, these are shots that absolutely blasted Silva and pretty much won him that first round. going into the second round and going into the third round, more and more Silva was looking for these takedowns. I do, again, give credit to Pereira because it did show he's evolving. He's definitely was a little bit more relaxed when he was smothered up against the fence. He was able to get space, create space, frame Silva off a little bit, throw a knee in there to the body, and work and find space to the center of the cage. He was able to do that throughout, and he started really landing in that third round. Pereira was teeing off on him, big shots, rocked him. It almost looked like he was going to get the finish a few times in that third round. But either way, he goes out there, dominates, wins all rounds, and wins by unanimous decision. And then most recently, he fought Sean Strickland, which this was one here I did have a play. It was even money on Alex Pereira. And this was one here where, we all people kind of thought, maybe the storyline was that Strickland was going to go in there, he was going to utilize some grappling, he was going to look for the takedowns, he was going to, and some people kind of, go, oh, well, Pereira went in there and Pereira sparks him out. And some people thought, hey, maybe Strickland, just wanted to test his kickboxing, or he wanted to test the stand-up. I don't believe that. I actually think Strickland couldn't really find a spot, an entry point to level change. I think that he knew the power was there. I think he knew he was worried about the power. He knew that the striking was definitely levels above, and I think he was trying to, kind of walk down Pereira, get in his face, start to push forward a little bit, and as he was pushing forward, he threw a beautiful left hook, rocked him, and then finished him with a big right hand. Fight over, game over. That's it for Strickland. I gotta say, I've had a lot of cashing in my day in sports betting. That was one of my favorite ones because I cannot stand Sean Strickland. I cannot stand the guy. It was nice to see him get absolutely blasted out in that first round. But again, it shows Pereira that you can't mess with this guy standing. Guys that are trying to do that, and when he's in his comfort zone, and I thought that Pereira in the bigger cage, because he was fighting some of these smaller cages, in the normal size UFC cage, I thought he felt a little more comfortable. I thought that he'd like to have a little bit more room. I think that it really worked a little bit better for him. But either way, he goes out there and gets a first round knockout over Sean Strickland. So with that being said, the first thing here is that, you've got the mental edge for Pereira. I think that coming into this fight, you've got the mental edge of Pereira. Pereira's won 2 times. I know the first time was a close, it went to a decision. Pereira ended up getting the nod there. It was very close. And then going to the second fight, which a lot of people talk about, yes, Adesanya had some moments in that fight, and then Pereira got the knockout. But if you look at it, really, this was a short notice fight for Pereira. Pereira was coming off, I believe it was an injury or something to that effect, coming in on short notice and gets this victory. So it was very interesting, and I think it puts pressure on Adesanya. But on the other side of it, Adesanya has massive experience when it comes to MMA. Sorry, still slightly getting over this cold here. A slight advantage. Oh, definitely not a slight advantage. A big advantage when it comes to experience. He's been in these big moments. He's been in these title fights. He's been against some of the best fighters in the world in mixed martial arts. So the experience, I think, obviously goes to Adesanya. And then I think a little bit of the mental edge may go to Pereira. But with that being said, I think the biggest part of this fight, absolutely, is going to be the physical stature at which Pereira is. And the fact that Adesanya has not fought anybody of his stature. When you're talking about the height, when we're talking about the reach. And I think the reach advantage, or not the reach advantage, but actually the similar reach is going to be a game changer in this fight. I think that is the biggest game changer in this fight. We have seen over Adesanya's entire MMA career, he has fought guys that have, he's had a 7-inch reach, a 6-inch reach, an 8-inch reach. I mean, he's had these massive reach advantages over a lot of guys, and yes, his striking is elite. He's top level when it comes to it. The guy has great distance management, so you add in the distance management, you add in his elite level striking, it really starts to make it very hard for some of these guys with shorter reach to even cut distance, to even get in there. Now, if you look at it, the one big thing also here is that guys like, when I went back and we watched the last fight for Whitaker versus Adesanya, now that was a 7-inch reach advantage for Whitaker. Now, Whitaker was struggling. There was, he was definitely there were some close rounds in there, but that's the thing. There were close rounds in there. There were rounds where a guy with such elite level striking, Whitaker is up there too. Of course, the guy is a killer himself, but you know, when you've got the same reach, 7-inch reach advantage is massive. And Whitaker was landing. Whitaker was landing the left hook. Whitaker was landing certain shots. I think that he got frustrated because he could not and just was unable to check kicks. He just couldn't really time checking the kicks. He was getting battered and bruised there. But it just shows that there is opportunity there for Pereira having better striking than Whitaker, and then also having the same exact, or I think it's 1-inch difference, as Adesanya. That's a very interesting fact. Now you even look at Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum, who is, you know, you cannot put Kelvin Gastelum striking anywhere near Alex Pereira. You can't. But that was a very close fight in certain spots where Gastelum was landing. Gastelum had a 9-inch reach disadvantage. So Whitaker had a 7-inch reach disadvantage. Gastelum had a 9-inch reach disadvantage, yet he was landing, yet he was finding spots to land. Yes, again, he even clipped them, dropped them. There were certain spots in there. Now you shift your mind over to Pereira, who is gonna have the same reach, gonna have more power, gonna have way better striking than both of these guys on the feet. It just starts to make you really think of how this fight could really be laid out. And you know, he's based his striking. Israel's based his striking around having this reach advantage. Not having it and really being able to utilize that and back up and just barely get hit in certain spots, he can't do that here. He cannot do that Saturday night. He's going to get knocked out if he does that. Again, he's incredible when it comes to distance management. He's incredible with just timing and all these things. So, of course, he has that going for him and the experience. But I really believe that the reach, the similar reach is going to be very difficult for Adesanya going into this fight. And then you know, obviously, if we're just talking about the striking side of things, we don't really have to talk about it too much there. I mean, you know, Adesanya is elite, but you know, he's kind of been, and the way that I looked at their both paths to victory here, I think that Adesanya has to point fight. He has to stick to what has worked for him over these last few fights. He has not been knocking guys out. He has not been sparking guys and dropping them. And, you know, that portion, you know, kind of has shifted away where he's just kind of being fine, hammering the legs. He's fine, you know, working the jab and finding a way to keep winning rounds and win on the scorecards. That's absolutely his path. He has to be patient. He cannot get emotional. He cannot look to, you know, just be tight and swing randomly, because I fully believe that punch for punch, Pereira would absolutely detonate him if they do that, if they stay in the pocket. I think Adesanya has to be point fighting. But on the other side of it, I think Pereira has to push forward. I think the pressure is going to be big. I think he has to push forward. I think he has to be able to kind of chop away. Also, I think he's going to be okay checking these leg kicks. I don't think he's going to allow Adesanya, over however many rounds this lasts, to just, you know, be blasting his leg. I think he's going to be checking and blasting back. Of course, both of them are going to be landing leg kicks, but I think that the stand-up game of Pereira is so above a lot of these guys that Adesanya has fought over how many years on his title run. This brings a different part. And I think that the power advantage absolutely goes to Pereira as well. So there's a lot of things that tick you the other way. And I really believe that he's going to check these leg kicks and counter, and I think that's where he's going to find a lot of success. The other layer of this is I don't really believe there's going to be much grappling. I don't really see this being, Adesanya diving at legs. I don't believe that. I think, could he maybe do it? Nah, maybe, who knows? But I think if there is anything, that if there's anybody that does that, I could maybe see Pereira. And again, not thinking that this is going to be, he's going to have 10 takedown attempts. He may have 1 or 2. But I think that having Glover Teixeira in his corner is just a very big advantage for him, experience-wise, title fight-wise. A guy who has been there, a guy that is elite when it comes to submissions and grappling, and just teaching him certain things, I think is going to help him tremendously in this fight. And again, I think even if he doesn't get these takedowns or doesn't really look to clinch up a lot or whatever it is, because I think it's probably going to be a glorified kickboxing match for the most part, But even if he just does that, I think it's a good change of pace. I think it may just get Adesanya thinking a little bit and saying, wait a minute, what's this guy doing? So I don't think that Pereira is going to be this, guy grappling, smothering, top control. But I think it's a nice pace change for him. But overall, I'm looking at this, man. I like Alex Pereira here, and I think he goes out there and gets the job done. I really believe that the structure, the physical stature, of Pereira is going to cause him problems. Adesanya has not faced anybody in a long time with the reach, with the height similarities. I think that's going to cause a lot of problems. I think that check left hook is going to be there again, and I think he may be very timid and overthink certain spots. Again, Adesanya is elite, but I think this is such a legacy fight. This is such a big moment for him, where it's not that big of a moment for Pereira. It is. I mean, it's a title fight, but even if he loses, it's okay. He's only had 7, MMA fights. We can kind of lean on that a little bit and say that this is if Adesanya goes out there and gets knocked out and loses the title, this really becomes a big thing for him, a very big kind of gash on his record, on his kickboxing career, on his MMA career. He's elite, there's no doubt about it, but I like Alex Pereira to go out there, get the job done, get the victory at plus 150. I think is a great number, and maybe you want to sprinkle the knockout at plus 280 also as well, but that is my play on the main event, Alex Pereira plus 150. And then the next one we're going to go over very quickly here is Dominic Reyes versus Ryan Spann. You've got Dominic Reyes, he's minus 225. You got Ryan Spann plus 185. So this one here, I'll be short and sweet. The first thing here is I like the total in this spot here. And when you're looking at totals and you're looking at especially the under, the one thing that you need to have is you have the willingness of two fighters that are looking to exchange, that are looking to go forward, that are not looking to step back, that are not, dragging out fights, that both can push forward, whether they're seeking their strength in the grappling, or they're seeking their strength in the striking, but they're looking to push forward. And then you have to have defensive efficiencies in both fighters. If there's inefficiencies in both of these fighters, then you could start to see counters, you could start to see guys that are looking to throw the big shots, and that starts to allow these unders to come in, these violence bets to come in. And when you look at Spann throws everything big. He's got big power. He looks to throw the big shots. And also the fact that not only does when he throws these big shots, but he leaves his head on the center line. And I would say both of these guys are extremely hittable. They're very both hittable. They both leave their head in the center line. They're both looking to throw the big shots. They do, there could be a spot where Spann may look to kind of get a takedown and kind of, look to grapple a little bit. But I think that that's going to be difficult to keep Reyes on the ground. I think Reyes is strong enough to kind of scramble, get back to his feet. So I see this as more of a stand-up fight. I don't think that Spann is going to be able to really continually push for these takedowns. I don't really see that happening. I think that scrambling, the wrestling of Reyes, and the countering from those opportunities, I think keeps this fight standing. On the other side, you've got Reyes. He's 0-3 out of his last 3. But yes, he lost to a controversial decision to John Jones. He lost to Jan Blachowicz, and he lost to Yuri Prochazka. I mean, these are past and current champions that he's lost to. Normally, when you're on an 0-3 run, it's your ticket out the door, but not at this level, not the type of guys that he had faced, especially the very controversial loss to John Jones. But the one thing that I do like about this is that, Reyes will push forward also. Reyes will be a guy. He's not going to be standing and skirting on the outside. He's going to look to be throwing the big shots too. So Spann will throw the big shots. Also, Reyes will throw the big shots too. And we've seen Dominic Reyes get absolutely sparked out 2 times out of his last 3 losses against Prochazka, against Blachowicz. He took some bad knockouts. He's taken time away. Who knows how he's going to come in? And I think that also kind of pushes you where if a guy's been out for a little while, the guy's coming off knockouts, that starts to really be issues when you're talking about a guy coming back. So the willingness in the pocket and the fact that they're both hittable, I think that really sets up the under nicely here. And also they're wild and sloppy. I mean, no offense to either of these guys, but they both can be very wild in the pocket when they're exchanging. So they can be wild and sloppy, also have no defense, also are hittable. A lot of things push you to the under here. And then if you just look at Ryan Spann, since Dana White's Contender Series, he's had 9 fights. 6 ended in the first round. One ended in the second round, and he had 2 decisions. And right now, he's had 4 straight fights that have ended in the first round. I really think this under here is looking great. You got the under at the under is 1.5, 1.5, and you've got it's minus 115. So I like under 1.5 rounds here at basically a pick 'em price. I think the action is going to be happening early. I think this fight probably ends pretty quickly. I think they're both going to be looking to fire. They're both going to be looking to exchange here. So as my other free play, I like under 1.5 rounds in the Dominic Reyes versus Ryan Spann. I can't even get this out of my mind right now, the other fight. I'm just pumped up for it. But that's it. Those are my 2 plays for UFC 281. I will be in the building. If you want to take a look at my other plays, you can take a look. Link down in the description for clients. And again, if you want to see some of the things I'm going to be posting on Twitter at the event, at Kyle Anthony UFC on Twitter. And there you have it. Those are my plays. And we will see you next time. This is Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show. And I'll see you next time.